Welcome to episode 24 of the WireTap podcast with Alex.
Hey, Carlos, what's up, Alex?
What's going on, dude? We're
What's
winding
Gucci,
up,
man?
winding down,
Oh man, it's
or winding
Friday.
up.
It's Friday, or as our culture would say, it's Friday, and the body knows it. Isn't that an interesting way of translating things?
Hey,
And the body knows it.
did you know, talk about Gucci, did you know that the famous esports team that I follow, 100 Thieves, you guys
Uh
probably
huh.
seen, I wear a lot of 100 Thieves shirts. They're
Yeah,
doing
yeah,
a
yeah.
collab dropping on the 19th with Gucci.
Are they really? Did you
Yeah.
know? Speaking of which, I meant to text you on this. Did you know that Tommy Hilfiger teamed up with Lewis Hamilton?
Did they?
Yeah, they teamed up
I
with
don't
he
know.
teamed up with Lewis Hamilton, and they have something called a Tommy X, and
Mm.
it's a line that Tommy Hilfiger put out, partnering up with Lewis Hamilton, which
Which is kind
yeah,
of weird because I mean, not to bring any racial
I know
issues
what
or
I
anything
know
like
what you're
that.
about to
There
say.
was a
Yeah,
time,
yeah, uh
there was
huh,
a time where Tommy had said that it wasn't his clothes wasn't for minorities, right? So that's kind
It's
of
true.
surprising. But
But you
hey,
know,
times have
but you
changed.
got but it's here's remember this. Formula One is considered to a lot of people. It's a elevated sport for the rich, right? It's not like NASCAR. You can pay 10, $12 to get in and get a nosebleed, right? Versus
Hmm.
going to a Formula One race where there's no way you're ever going to pay $12 to get in there, right? So
Well,
that's the way they
there's no,
do
think
it.
about it like this: out of millions of people, and we said it before, is there's only 22, 24 of the best athletes in the world that are able to get into it. Yeah, it takes a lot of money, and this is why they're talking about the
Sure.
sport. And we can go through the whole aspect. I can talk. We can make a podcast full of just Formula One, but that's why they're talking about make it a little bit more accessible. It's just costs too much money. I mean, everything about carts and tires and making your way through it, and if you don't have sponsors, man, it's just ridiculous. But I'm glad that Formula One has taken a big stance on equality and making a safe space
And
for everyone, and
but you
because
know,
it's
I
a
think that's
worldwide sport. It's a
yeah, but
worldwide sport.
I do think that's because of Lewis Hamilton, though. As much as
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of Lewis, I have learned his story over the past couple of days, and
Yeah.
I think the man is just misjudged a lot, man. He didn't grow up with money.
No, I
Have
mean
you heard?
it's
Do
a
you
lot
know
of.
his story? Do you know his
Yeah,
story?
and I do know a little bit of his story, and it's just the same. Like with Sergio Perez, like he was his family was sold a lot of stuff. He had to get sponsors to be able to make it, and obviously he had one of the biggest, richest persons in Mexico back in the at a I think when he was around 14, 15 years old, and because it takes a lot for them to do their dreams, fulfill their dreams, especially going to Europe, competing because if you look at it, a lot of
Yeah,
the racers right now, that are racing, the athletes, they're all from almost the same class. Like most of them all been racing since they were kids. It's all the same type of group. And if you look at a lot of them, it's their former sons. They're sons of former race car or Formula One drivers. So it's just almost like an inherited sport with most
exactly.
of them
It's
are
a
in there.
family business, right?
Yeah, because it just takes a lot. So when you
Absolutely.
got a kid that breaks through those barriers, and now like Lewis Hamilton, right? That he's a seven world tag champ. It's big for him because, like you said, he didn't have anything. They sacrificed a whole lot. Their parents sacrificed a lot to get him to a position where he's at. I didn't
Yeah,
know we
no,
were gonna go there, but
we
this.
didn't. I didn't intend to go there either, man. But it's only because of the recent. There's just been a lot of good things happening lately in Formula One. Have you seen the new car? Have you seen the new Mercedes?
Yeah, well, I saw the Red Bull one, obviously,
Whoa,
because,
oh,
but
oh.
you know what? It's just a prototype. They have a
Let me say that
prototype,
again. Oh.
and they wrap the teams like colors, and they make it all nice and everything. Because obviously that's not their car. They're not going to release real pictures of the 2022,
Of
especially this
course.
early in the
Oh
stage.
man. Oh yeah.
But
Because then you've
but
got competitors and jumping in
but
and
it looks
copying.
nice.
Uh huh.
It looks
Uh-huh.
nice. They all look
Uh-huh.
nice. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely, man. No, I think I think it's a fantastic sport. I think, one of the coolest parts I think is that did you know in a race, drivers, racers, if we put it that way, drivers can lose 7 to 10 pounds in a race. Do you know that?
I mean, it
Seven
like
to 10 pounds in a race.
they're sweating. I mean, it's hot, man. It's
Ooh,
brutal. It's brutal.
it
That's why
is. It
they
is. It's
and they gotta
competitive.
be yeah, it's competitive. But anyways, Carlos, let's take it on to our first actual topic, which is
And let's talk
Tesla's
business.
biggest yeah, Tesla's biggest secret. Obviously, I don't think this is a big secret for me. I know
You
you
don't
label
think
it that
so?
because I I've been seeing this. I follow what Elon does. I think he's a brilliant man as far as in his maybe sometimes misunderstood. We talked about it before. He's a little crazy at times, but it's because he's at a different level
Different.
than we are. He
Yeah,
probably
of
thinks
course.
we're the dumbest persons ever. I mean,
Yeah,
in
yeah.
reality, that's what he thinks. And it's just
Although I
his
did
mind.
recently notice that Richard Branson went to space, which
Yeah.
is equivalent to what Elon is doing, right?
Yeah, he's more doing like a tour thing, right? He's trying to
He
get
is.
tourists and stuff. But dude, so go ahead. I'm gonna let you start because you're the one that put the topic up for debate, or you wanted to discuss it. Go ahead.
I'm just listen. This may be, as you said, this may be nothing new to you, and because it's probably nothing new to you, Alex, it's probably nothing new to a lot of our listeners. But I just wanted to bring this about. I wanted to bring it up front. I wanted to have this conversation because everyone, when they think of Elon, they think of Tesla, right?
Hmm.
Or they'll go directly to SpaceX. But one of the hidden things that a lot of people may not know is that he is slowly expanding his business and quietly expanding into energy storage, right? And you may be asking, so what does that mean? I'm talking renewable energy. I'm talking solar. I'm talking wind. I'm talking about these specific gadgets, if we want to call them gadgets, right? That become a utility for homes, right? You no longer have to pay a light bill, right? You make a heavy investment and you buy these solar panels, which you can do today. But what he is trying to do is he's trying to streamline this, right? He's trying to make this an option that when you move into your home, you can choose X power company or decide to go wind and solar, which is an approach that I think is going to move his brand, Alex. It's going to move him to the next level because I believe as a country, I believe as people, I believe our generation is becoming more invested, I would say, into renewable sources, being a little bit more conscious, of course, as to what we're purchasing, how we're using the things that we purchase, what we do with the things that we purchase. And this is exactly what Elon is doing. He's taking technology that he's using in Tesla and thinking, how do I maximize this technology that I really have tapped into, that I have really invested my life in, and how can I actually scale my business of renewable energy and these renewables? And listen, there is a $15 billion market in this, man. And that's not even 2021 numbers, Alex.
Yeah.
15 billion, right? We're talking about market cap with probably 25 in the mix. So the reason I wanted to bring this up is because not
No,
only
so
seeing this deployment of cash, right, that Elon has taken on, there's big things happening, bro.
you remember I told you that Tesla, and we talked about it even on the top 10 stocks and everything, and they were talking, oh, it's an automaker. And I told you, remember, I said, not really. Tesla is way more than just an automaker. It's more
That's
of
right.
a complete different business. You got the boring company that's boring tunnels. You seen the Tesla like tunnel where you take their cars and it sells drives and it's just a
Drops
Tesla
you and
tunnel.
go. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean that's pretty cool. Another thing is obviously with this solar stuff that they've been taking their everything that they've learned. It started I think in the market for the energy business back in 2015, and I've been keeping an eye on it because I thought it was super impressive when they came out with with his um solar panels that are they look identical like shingles. So I don't know
Yeah,
if you saw
yeah.
them. You can probably go onto the website and see them. They
I
look
have,
like
man.
shingles. So instead of having your shingles on your roof, it's not those big old panels. It actually
Right,
looks
right.
like a shingle roof, but it's
Like a shingle
harvesting.
roof. Yeah.
but it's harvesting all that energy into their Tesla system. Now, like you said, obviously not with those shingles, I don't know what it would run, but if you're talking about an investment of today where it's roughly is running around 25,000 and your steady payment would be over $160 a month for the next 25 years, and then after the 25 years you ain't paying nothing,
And that's
it's
something.
all part of it,
That's right.
or you continue giving payments of your light bill and then who knows how that plays out.
Right. Right. It's more sustainable. It really is. It's much more sustainable. I think it thinks out of the box, and I want to encourage you guys that listen. If you're thinking about investing, as we're an investing podcast, we talk about finance, we talk about business, we look at other businesses and we see how they're scaling and how we can adapt these. If we have a small business, if we're running, if we're in a leadership position within a business, and we're trying to help our
Phew,
current
sorry.
business, what are things that we can do that we can bring to the table that, of course, increase our value, yet at the same time increases the value of the company that we're working for or that we own. So, I just wanted to bring this about, Alex, because it is a quiet thing that Elon is doing, and he's really focusing on energy storage. And I think there's business in this. I think there's
So check
opportunity in
this
this.
out.
Yeah,
So check this out. The contract that they won in Texas. So they've been deployment throughout the countries. They've showed that they actually can handle the
actually
grid.
can do it. Yeah,
They
yeah, yeah.
they
Of
they
course.
they've actually said like, hey, we can support this or up to 3 hours. I think they deployed it in Hawaii, California. They got other places, and
Yeah.
Texas, one of the biggest ones that were going on that contract. The people that were making the decision is ultimately we decided on Tesla because they have proven that they can handle. They have proven this. They way ahead of the technology. They understand it. There was very little risk, so they have the advantage over other people that they're putting their reputation on the line, saying like, "Oh yeah, for sure, we handle this," because they've proven themselves, versus other companies are having to prove, and so they're ahead of the market. That puts them in a very advantageous point.
Oh,
Another thing
absolutely.
is, another thing is, even though they're technically not making money off of it
Yet. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yet, but the deployments are more and more and more that everyone's starting to adopt it.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And that is a trend, right? I think that is a new trend that we're moving into as people who want to make a difference, as people who want to make a change right in the earth and taking care of Mama Earth, right? If we want to look at it that way. But speaking of trends, Alex, there are some trends that are taking place right now, some business trends that are taking place right now in 2021 when it comes to business, when it comes to technology, when it comes to design. And I wanted us to look at these 2021 trends that are slowly going to be creeping into 2022. Did you get a chance to review that by any chance? There's some good
No,
stuff here.
no, I did look at some. I have some opinions on some of them. Some of them are actually affect most of us in today's time.
Absolutely.
But why don't you kick it off with the first one and then we'll go through them?
Yeah, the first one talks, I believe there's six, right? There's six specific
Correct.
trends, six but seven specific trends that we'll look at, and we won't really flush this out completely, right? We're going to
Correct.
snorkel versus dive, but we wanted to bring about this attention because these specific business trends. The first one talks about a collective displacement. What is a collective displacement that's taking place in business and technology, and how life is really working itself out in the business world? And what it's saying is it is time for us to help people find their place again with the right experience. In other words, when they love what they do, continue to make that happen, right? Create an environment where people love coming to work, that it's not a burden, that they're not hating to be there 5 days a week. If that's the case, change it to a 4-day week, right? If it's to that extreme, then make a difference. Create this collective displacement and bring it back together, because people are now identifying jobs and responsibilities and paying their bills and making a living for themselves as a chore instead of something that they love to do, right? So this
Mhm.
collective displacement displacement helps us as individuals to say, we've got to find our place again with the right experiences. So in anything and everything that we're doing, whether it's in business or in our personal life, connect people, right? Connect them together so they can find that hope, I guess you can say, or find that thrill or that passion or that ability to fall back in love. Because again, we're going back to just living. And that's a trend that's moving into this year or into next year as well, that our generation is saying, look, we're looking for purpose. We're not wanting to show up from 9 to 5 if we can knock our job out between 9 to 12, right? So this
Yeah.
collective displacement trend says, hey, it's about helping people find their place once again with the right experiences. Did you catch that?
No. Yeah, no, for sure. And then if we step into number two, man, is the number two trend is doing your self innovation. And what this led was when COVID started, it kind of led to a lot of people not being able to come in. They were too scared. So what did that leave? It left a lot of people into, you know what, I can do this myself. So it
That's right.
started with
That's right. A lot of
innovating,
DIY.
figuring out. I was like playing a key role. Like, oh, I can figure this out. I can watch this YouTube video. I can do this. I can figure it out. I can call someone. They can help me, and I can try to do it. You started a project. I don't know if you started any project yourself, but
I
I
did.
did.
I did. I
And you know what I'm
did.
saying? We all did. So it's more of like, you know what? I can do it myself. So what it did, it just did the innovation. People actually realized that, you know what? I'm creative. I can shine through this. So that's kind of the number two trend
But what
is
does that
do it
say
yourself.
to us, though? You hit, man. I know this is something we were going to talk about, but you're bringing something about that is so true. What does that say to us, though, man? Bro, that says to us that we are busy freaking people, bro. We are
Mhm.
so busy that we don't even make time or have the time to learn something new to do it ourselves, right? It's all about doing it on the fly. Let me watch this quick video while I'm on the way to work, right? Let me watch this quick video while I'm scarfing down this sandwich. Let me go ahead and see if I can figure this out while I've got some extra spare time, right? It's interesting how this pandemic, this COVID situation put us in a
Kind of slow.
specific place where this DIY shows up and says, hey, you can do it. You just need to sit down and focus on this, right? Because
Yeah,
we don't
it
have
made
that
you
kind of
kind of
time.
it kind of made you slow down a little bit, right? It
It
makes you kind
did,
of take a
man.
little pause, reset your values, reset your time, took back a little bit of control, and just know that you don't have to be a slave to your employer. I mean, you can
Right, right,
slow down
right,
a little bit and do
right.
your stuff.
Right. No, no, no. I love it, man. I love it. Trend number three for those that are keeping up with us. Sweet teams are made of this is called the trend. It's reshaping your employees to experience a post-pandemic world. In other words, the things that these employers or these businesses just recently learned about their business and how that places their staff, really, right? Their employees. There are more, I believe that there are more businesses that are becoming more conscious of what they do and how they do things as a business. Listen, maybe your specific line of work was not remote work. And because of this pandemic, now it gives the company and the employee the ability to work from home, which they never thought they could do. Alex, I know you can relate to this,
hmm So
right?
here's the thing too. Yeah, dude, for sure. So here's one thing also they it took them is they're not paying that much on toiletries, whatever that may be,
Right, right.
paper, soap, and all this other stuff. Who's paying for the coffee? Because
Right,
obviously, if
right.
you're at home, you're using your coffee. If
On
you're,
you.
you're doing that, is they're not offering, they're not spending so much on supplies. They're not cleaning behind you. Blah blah blah. This
Right,
and the list
right,
goes on and on. So
right.
now it becomes a different issue about whose responsibility is for what and everything. But I think it's a sweet deal for both parties. If I'm frank.
I do. If you take advantage of it, right? As they said, don't allow a catastrophe to define you. Take advantage of the catastrophe, right? Everything that has just taken place, really take the time to just learn how this has affected your business, how it's affected your employees, and how it's affecting you as an employee within your business, right? Maybe you have figured something out on your own within the business that is really reshaping the way things are done. So that is a trend.
You
Again, it may not be something that you're working or living in right now, but that is a specific trend that's taking place right now, Alex.
And you know what? It's a sweet deal. Like I said, it's a sweet deal.
It sweetens the
You just
pot for sure.
what you have to do is you got to make sure that you're actually working. If you guys are out there and you're in the same spot, just make sure you're doing your job. Because here's what
Right,
I
right.
don't don't take advantage where you're not doing your job, because what's gonna happen is you're gonna
Mhm.
spoil it for the rest of the people that are actually doing their job.
That's right.
You
That's
know,
right.
it becomes where and I know I'm going a little bit deeper here, but it becomes an employer versus an employee relationship and trust. The employer's got to be trusting you that you're doing your job, and you got to entrust your employer that, hey, you're gonna allow me to stay here as long as I'm doing my job. Like,
Yeah,
don't penalize me and try to bring me back to the office if I'm actually doing what I'm supposed to do.
that's
So
right.
I would just say to the people, if you're there, don't take advantage. I mean, it's a sweet deal that you're staying at home, you're saving on gas, tires, car wear, and
Big
you're
time.
just staying at home.
Big time. And for me as a CEO, man, of a lot of things that are happening within my business, is I would just say keep in mind that your productivity matters, right? If productivity slows, then we're done, right? It's no longer
Mhm.
a trend. It's a disappearing trend, right? It is no longer existent. And I would say that personally, because then if productivity slows down, then what's the point in doing what we're doing, right?
Mhm.
But you got to
Yeah, you
sweeten the
gotta make
pot.
sure.
You got to remember to sweeten the pot, because the trend is you have made it. Now you start to think, right? Now, as a business owner, and this is for those of you that may not see it this way, I'm telling you, your boss is rethinking things because of this pandemic, right? They're figuring out things. It's either good or bad, but they're figuring a lot of new things out because they realize of what could happen in a day. Overnight, things could change dramatically, right? They could lose employees. Look at all these restaurants, man. Look at all these
Yeah, it's
restaurants.
crazy.
Look at all these
Mhm.
restaurants. The new pandemic is being short staffed at a restaurant, right? That's the new pandemic.
Mhm.
And that's just the restaurant, right? Now restaurant owners are thinking, dang, I really need to bump this salary up, right? The
Mhm.
250 an hour plus tips isn't
It's
working
just not
anymore.
cutting. Yeah.
It's just not cutting it anymore. When you've got inflation rates of over 5%, who wants to go back to that, Alex? Right? I
No.
saw the other day, I was driving and I saw a restaurant with a billboard outside their restaurant that said a $1,500 sign on bonus. Have you ever seen a restaurant with a $1,500 sign in bonus?
No.
You know
No, I
why?
mean, yeah, because they ain't got no employees. Nobody wants to get hired.
Exactly.
So right
Exactly.
now, to employers out there, or CEOs and stuff like that, right now, if you got good people, you gotta be,
Keep them,
you gotta
bro.
make sure that you value them, because what's going on is, if an employee feels that they're not valued, right now is not the time for you to say anything, right? Because the market is
Right.
endless. There's people out there that are paying you bonuses, they're paying you big money just to
Yeah,
go out there and come work for them. So if
that's
you
right.
got a good employee, you gotta be careful in what you say, because right now is not the time.
No, it's not.
So
And
number
take care of
four,
your staff.
Carlos.
And I'll say that to any CEO. Take care of your people. That's
Yeah. So number
listen,
four
if
is
you take care of
okay.
your
Ahead.
people, I'm sorry, Alex. Let me jump on this
Yeah.
soapbox. Let me say this for any CEO that's listening. And I'm writing this book for you, and I'm almost done. If you take care of your staff, if you take care of your people, they'll take care of your business. Number one lesson. If you take care of your people, they'll take care of your business. All
Gary
right.
Vee said, you work for them. They don't work for you.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying?
I mean, it's
So,
true. It is what it is. It's true.
so
As a
basically,
CEO, that's the case.
yeah,
Just being
because it's
honest.
anyways, I can go into the whole thing. But
All right,
here,
yeah. Go ahead, go.
number
Go
four,
number four. Go number four. Number four.
in
Go number four.
interaction wanderlust. So many of us have spent, much time on the screens. We've been consumed by,
Screen
uh,
fatigue.
yeah, like yeah, fatigue, or you just seeing so many TikTok videos, Instagram videos, seeing your neighbors, seeing this digital stuff. This trend is just about, we spend so much time on the screens that you're forgetting to live your life a little. Stop worrying about, you gotta shake that wonder dust, basically shake that
Oh, okay,
dust, go
okay.
out and do
Whoa,
stuff.
whoa, whoa.
It's like,
Yeah,
woo,
yeah,
shake it off.
yeah. Shake it
You know
off.
what I'm saying?
You see that? I shook it off.
You gotta find out
You're
what's
sugar now.
exciting, what inspires you. go out and
Right,
try new
right,
things, elements. Don't get so stuck in the daily routines. And I'm guilty. You're guilty to that point. Is like, we gotta make sure that we break out of some of these daily routines that and just stop living in the limbo because man, tomorrow's not promised.
right, right, right. And that's the thing, Alex. I think number five interconnects with what number four is saying. This liquid infrastructure, right? It's not just in business. This is even for your own life, like redesigning the way you think, right? Redesigning the way your business is built, redesigning how you scale your business. You've got to deliver delight from that first moment to the last, right? Honestly, like this past weekend, I showed up at a dealership and I was disappointed, and I'm not going to get into details about it because I was looking for a Model X. I'm not going to lie, looking for a Model X. I think I might have mentioned
Hmm.
that, and I was really disappointed that there was absolutely no delight. And I had purchased a vehicle from this specific dealership before, but I went to a sister place, right, a sister dealer, and I just didn't see it. The only reason I came back, the only reason I chose that specific brand, that specific name, is because initially there was a delight from the first moment to the last moment. They knew exactly how to get my business. They knew exactly how to keep my business, but they recently ruined it, right? So when you look at your business, when you look at what your career is doing, when you look at your personal life, this trend number five is talking about this liquid infrastructure is sometimes you got to pivot, right? Sometimes the plan is not going to work out the way you want it to. And you have to have the discipline, the courage, the cojones, right? To be able to look back and to say, hey, I really got to rethink this. I really need to rethink this because if I don't rethink this, I'm gonna sink, right? I'm gonna drown. So I would say that this new trend of pivoting on a daily basis, if that's the case, if it needs to take place, it needs to take place, Alex.
Nah, for sure, Carlos. And number six, man, is the empathy challenge. Eh, I think we
You don't
all.
have any empathy.
Nah, I
You
do, I
struggle
do.
with empathy.
No, I do.
Remember, you're
Just
the power guy. Remember, you want power,
nah, man. That's
control.
that's just what the internet said,
The internet
but
junkies.
yeah, the internet, whatever test you made us take, the power. You
Power.
need
The
people
power is
like
what
me.
you
We'll get
want.
to that in a
Yeah,
sec.
yeah,
But
yeah.
anyways, the empathy challenge is a lot of people have taken this idea in knowing what brands stand for, what brands are promoting, what brands are saying, what CEOs is saying what. So that's why we're seeing the market also move so much is because one guy says the wrong thing and the market and reacts a certain way. The
Boom.
people do. So I don't know. We will probably end up talking at one point about this, and I think you're gonna go a little bit later about this woke mentality or
Right,
whatever that
right.
people are starting to go into these trends. But anyways, is people gotta be cognizant of what the companies are saying because people are out there, and if they don't agree with those same values, they're looking in a different direction, man.
That's right. That's right. As they should, don't you think?
Yeah.
As they
No.
should. If a company is not keeping their ear to the ground, Alex, then honestly, what is the point in keeping a customer, right? If you are
Hmm.
not sensitive to a customer's needs, right? Then what are you doing in business? And that's the reason I believe that this is a trend when it comes to business. Now, last but not least, it's called rituals lost and found. Listen, there are things in business that a business has always done. And it is okay. This trend is going on that it is okay to let go of the old and acquire the new. It's okay to think outside the box and try to generate a new revenue model, right? If the old revenue model isn't working, you need to go ahead and find a new way of generating a new revenue model because doing something over and over again and expecting a different right result is a little crazy, wouldn't you say,
It's
Alex?
insanity. That's the
It's
definition of
insanity, is
insanity.
what they
Yeah.
say. Exactly. So, this trend number 7 talks about rituals lost and found. It's helping people create meaningful rituals in their new unforbidden circumstances, right? In this tough economy, in this inflating economy, you got to be able to understand to say, if this isn't working, then you got to try something new, right? You got to
Hmm.
figure something else out, or else, again, I go back to it's either sink or swim.
Yep, that's right, Carlos. And so on the next here, pivoting it off to our next subject, Carlos. Last week we talked about I
Speaking
was
of
gonna give
sinking or
you
swimming,
yeah, I was gonna give you a little bit of homework, right?
you
And that
did
was the
give me
subject.
a homework, right?
And the subject was I sold my house. Now what?
Right,
And
right.
so now we're gonna come back and talk about a little bit of tips here and there, things that we might have learned. There's some things that were interesting that I've saw, and then also I also read a different kind of articles, and there's some tips on here of I sold my house. Now what, Carlos? What do
Listen,
I do?
first of
What do I do with
what do
my
you do?
money?
What do you do? Listen, it just depends, right? Here is one of the piece. This is one of those homework assignments that I honestly have to go back to say, well, if that's my homework, then give me an end result. Give me an end goal, right? If you sell your home, okay, now you've got this amount of cash. My question is, what do you want to do with that cash,
So here's
right?
the different subjects, and we're gonna go and touch a little bit at a grand scale here. But a lot of people talk about capital gains tax, right?
Right,
What do I do?
right.
What do I do? What am I doing? Am I getting the profits and I'm immediately throwing into a property? Then yeah, you don't have to pay any taxes on that, right? Because you're immediately going into it. Another thing is, okay, there's certain that, and here's the one that sticks out to me the most, and this is also something that I learned besides this from a coworker's experience on this. If if you live in your home as your primary residence for 2 years, it says on the article that we have, but also he said 3 years. I think you need to go back to your state and just double
Yeah, you
check
got to
that
go
because
back and check what the state says.
every
Absolutely.
state is different. But let's just say that for this particular scenario, it's I believe it's 2 years. So if you live in the home for your primary residence for 2 years, and say you rent it out for 2 years or whatever, as long as you have lived in 5 consecutive years,
That's
two
right.
years, and then you sell it, then you don't have to pay no capital
That's right. That's right.
taxes. If you're a single person, it's
50.
$250,000 of profit.
Yep.
If it's a married couple, if you follow
Half.
jointly, because it's all filed by the IRS, so as long as
That's
you
right.
file jointly, it's $500,000. That if you lived in your home
Up
for two
to,
years,
for
yep,
sure.
up to, and then after
Yep.
that you would have to pay, right?
Of
But
course.
if you live for 2 years and you sell it within the 5 year period, you don't have to pay any capital gains taxes. So you can
This
put that money wherever you want.
Yeah, exactly. And this
But
is the problem with house flippers, right? This is the problem with people who flip homes. They flip, they get they create revenue for themselves, they generate a whole new line of revenue. They begin to say, "Hey, look at me now," right? They've walked
mhm.
away with a gain of 70, 80, 90,000. Just depends what kind of remodel you're into, right? What happens is these flippers, if you did not live there, expect that capital tax gain to take place. And that's why there are flippers who flip a home, realize what just takes place once tax season comes around, and they're like, oh man, did
I
we
gotta pay
really
that.
make anything? Yeah, did I
Yeah.
really make anything? So you're telling me I put myself through all of that for 7 G's, right? Yes, you did. Why? Because you don't understand the way this works, right? You simply did not create, right, a loophole for yourself. You honestly did not think this through, and you're seeing this as a transactional transaction, right? It is all transactional versus thinking this through and saying, what if I would have put this in a trust, right? What if I create a
Mhm.
living trust out of this and I skip the tax, right? Out of these generated gains that I've got. So there's multiple
So
ways that you
so
can do this, Alex.
here's the only, yeah. So the only thing that I would say to that, Carlos, it all just depends. If you have an LLC and you're buying the home through your company, and then you're actually selling it and you're making the
That's right.
profits, and then you're using all those expenses or whatever, then you're
To
paying taxes on
reinvest.
the remaining. Yeah, correct. And you're putting whatever money is left over, that's what you're paying taxes. That would be the smart way to do it. But yeah, correct. If you're doing personal whatever and you don't have those benefits, then 100% you're just paying way too much taxes for no reason. And hence what you were about to say is spending it in the stock market or buying it into safe ETFs or whatever stock bonds. It
Put
depends
it
on
in
what
an
the market's at.
IRA, put it in a
IRA.
Roth, right?
So Carlos,
Generate some kind of interest on it, create some kind of compound on it. Alex, I would always say, and this is something that I actually said this to somebody recently, you got to keep some cash around,
mhm,
right? You got to keep some liquid around because you just don't know what could come up, right? And I'm not talking about an investment opportunity. I'm not just talking about that.
emergency,
I'm
whatever.
talking emergencies, right? And I'm not talking, oh, I have $1,000 ready to go. $1,000 for an emergency in 2021, guys, is not going to cut it. I'm just going to be real with you. Those old school ways of thinking, that $1,000, keeping it in a safe fund, it's just not going to work. Listen, you can break a tooth, not have insurance, go get a brand new crown, get a root canal done, and get a filling all at once. You're going to walk out of there with at least a $400 to $4,500 bill.
Yeah, your $1,000 always covers for a
Where's
little down
yeah,
payment,
what
ten
just happened to your
percent
thousand,
down
right?
payment. Yeah.
Right now you're paying interest on the right side of your mouth, right? So again, I go back. You always need to keep some
So check
liquid
this out,
around.
Carlos.
Yeah, man.
Talking about something, man. Is this is so crazy? Actually, I'll put a pause on it because it has to do with what you just saying, but I don't
Yeah,
want to. We'll pivot back. Now,
yeah.
so let's just
Be
pretend.
fluid.
So now I pretend that I don't. I took my profit and I have $200,000 that I sold. I don't say I meet the criteria.
Yeah,
Now, I don't want to buy a home right now because obviously the housing market is skyrocket. We have over 21 million people in delinquent loans
yeah.
that who knows when. I think Biden is going to extend it, but obviously he can only extend it for so long, and
Of
then
course.
eventually that's going to crash.
Collapse.
Um,
Yeah,
it's going to collapse. So now I'm waiting for the opportunity 2 years from now, maybe that it collapses. I don't want to have that money or the majority of that money just sitting there in the bank losing value. So, what would you recommend our people out there to put? Do I invest it in stocks, but get a couple ETFs and put it, and then I don't know because I want to be able to pull them, the money if it hits like a right buying opportunity. What do you think I should do? Or what do you think? Obviously, we're not. Hold on, let me preface this. We're not real professional. Well, we're not advising you do your own research. Go look it up. Talk to your own
always do
CPA
your own
and
research. Always
and
figure out
everything.
what you want
This
to
is
do.
just
Yeah.
our opinion.
These are
This is
strictly
our opinion.
opinions. Absolutely. This is entertainment and opinions with a little bit of wisdom because we've been through it, right? Look, 200 grand, Alex, is an amount of money that today, you take in this inflation rate, you look at how other families, other medium incomes are performing. Look, yes, I believe in investing. Absolutely. I don't believe in jumping in the trends, right? I don't believe in
Hmm.
jumping in trends. I believe that if you're going to invest and you've got, if you're in the ballpark of the 200 because you recently gained a sale and you've got that kind of cash sitting in your account, number one, I go back to what I just said, create some compound interest, generate some interest, right? Open up a business if that's what you're wanting to do and go to the next level. If anything, I would always caution you, and I've said it before, I'll say it again, keep some liquid around. So if you want some hard numbers, here's some hard numbers. If I'm sitting with $200,000, Alex, right? And I'm testing the market and I've never invested, I've never jumped into anything that bears any kind of interest. You know what I would say? I would say you jump in with a fourth. Take that 50 grand, right?
Hmm.
Take 50 grand, put it in private equity, right? Put about 70% in private equity and put 30% in bonds. 50 grand, you still have 150 in liquid. right? You still got
Mhm.
150 to go to just in case life happens. Now, the person who just sold the house and made 200,000, congratulations. You did a phenomenal job. I just hope you have a place to live, right? Number one. I hope you have
Mhm.
a place to live and a place to rebound, because that's going to be the number one important thing. That's what I'm saying. Some people don't have that ability, right? Some
Yeah,
people in
correct.
today's day and age, they don't have that ability. When your house and you have a house, that's it. Unless you just sold your, your vacation home. Different conversation, but you're also in a different tax bracket, right? Completely different tax bracket. I would say take 50 grand, take 70% in private equity, 30% in bonds, and watch that balance act take place.
And then Carl,
If you're moving into stocks and bonds,
yeah.
right? If you're jumping into REITs, different conversation, because that's real estate investment. There's a trust there. It just depends what it's spitting out. Different conversation. If you've never done that before, don't jump into a REIT, because you're not going to understand it, right? I would say take
Mhm.
50 grand, allocate it accordingly, and watch it go. Once you're ready, give it 6 months, watch that portfolio, depending how conservative, how aggressive you are, then make the decision to go on to the next level if that's something you want to do.
Yeah, and I would just say like, and what he means by that is like, say you want to put into there's ETFs out there like SPY. It basically invests in Microsoft, I think Amazon, I
It's
think
a
it does
piece of
Tesla.
every popular company. So
It
if a
correct.
company is not performing the way it should, other companies that's within that portfolio is going to save you that day instead of just collapsing all at once.
And then correct, and then also look into companies like Johnson and Johnson that pays very good dividends. I think
Mm,
Coca Cola is another one that pays good
yeah,
dividends. So you look at companies that you're not looking for companies that are tremendously gonna skyrocket,
right.
but you're looking for companies that are stable, that are paying you a quarterly or monthly, dividend that is
Dividend.
gonna make you money because you're the way the dividends pay is they're paying you a percentage off of every share that you own. So obviously, if you put again, don't put 50,000 or even 30,000 into one stock alone. You're gonna sprinkle it across a couple of them that are secure, and with that, you need to do a little bit more research. But you start putting 5,000 in Johnson and Johnson, the little SPY. You look for another one. You put a little bit of money into that. Maybe so that
Yeah.
way
Or
you're kind of
purchase an
protected.
asset, right? Purchase a really expensive watch, purchase a really expensive vehicle and hold it and watch that. Right now, assets are really not depreciating, man.
Yeah, check this
Stocks,
out.
stocks, right?
So one of my neighbors had a Ford, whatever, 2 year old, 3 year old truck with 85,000 miles. Say he bought it, let's say 60,000, just a round number.
Yeah.
They offered them because he had to go do some service. They did oil change, blah blah blah. They offered them 58,000. This is a 3 year old truck. $58,000. He bought it brand new, 60 off the lot.
Yeah.
Talk
Yeah.
about he only paid $2,000 essentially to have this vehicle for 3 years and put 85,000 miles. Is that crazy or what?
That is nuts. Again,
That's because of the chip
assets
shortage.
matter. There's this chip. Listen, it's just a matter of time before these dealerships panic, man. Listen, you know why? Because they got to keep business going, Alex. They got
No.
employees to pay. They've got businesses to run. They've got pockets to fill. If you don't have any cars, listen, you can't even sell gap insurance right now, bro. You can't even sell gap insurance as a dealer because the car is not complete. You've got dealerships right now that are selling cars, right, at a fraction of a price because certain features of a vehicle do not work because the chip isn't in there, right? This is a mess. So they've got to buy these used cars. So that way somebody comes in and says, oh, that's 80,000, man. I could really use a truck. Oh, here we go. Let's go ahead and sell it to them. Let them give us $2,500 down. Let's go ahead and give them a 7% interest. And we just racked in, guys, 15 grand off of a good prospect, right? That's just the way business works, man. So again,
Carlos,
assets matter. Assets matter tremendously right now.
let me just say this last bit is obviously the stock market is not guaranteed. So if you're really looking for money to pull right away or it's not going to sit there for longer than a year, you got to be careful because the market could move down. But if you have money, guys, and you're investing over the long term, if the stock market goes down over 10 years, it always corrects itself and you're able to make money. That's why this is how our 401ks and everything like that is. You know,
You
it's
just got to
basically
have enough cash to hold on.
yeah, correct. Because you gotta ride that wave, like they say. So
That's right.
if you're looking to put it in there and then immediately try to take it out, obviously you're gonna have to pay capital gains taxes on the money that you pull out, not the money you invested in. But still, just be careful because you could put those $50,000. It could go down, and it's gonna take 2 3 years, and then it'll bounce back up, and then boom, you start seeing it go up, 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 up. So just be careful, and
Right.
you gotta have the stomach for that.
Right. 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 Which is why I go back to you got 200 G's in your pocket, only spend 50. If you ask my opinion, that's just
Carlos,
me.
and real quick on the story time. So, guys, people out there that don't have the money
Story
to
time.
story time. So people who don't have money out there. Here's someone that I know, and it's a shame that I wasn't able to see it sooner to prevent the damage. But anyways, they went out there, they got some dentist work or whatever, and they end up financing. Didn't really ask no questions. Just here, sign on the dotted line.
Wait, on a
They finance
vehicle?
no, on say some dentistry work, some
Oh, okay,
dentist
okay,
work.
okay,
Yeah.
okay.
So
Dentistry. Yeah, 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 yeah.
yeah.
Some
So
dental,
basically,
dental. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
basically, it's a $6,000 job that they're doing
Repo that mouth. Sorry, go ahead.
everything's so expensive, right? So, anyways, you $6,000 of finance, blah blah blah. You're gonna be paying $200 a month. Oh, that's not that bad, whatever.
Mhm.
Well, sign, no problem. They locked them on a 72-month contract where they're the final, and it's clear there. But this is when you don't know what to ask. You can get yourself in trouble, guys. So
72 months?
yeah,
6
at the
years?
like a car. Think about it. $6,000 you're financing for 72 months. At the end of the mature contract, you're paying $14,000.
There's your balloon right there, bursting.
Check this out.
Bam.
And check this out.
Jeez.
The first the first 6 year or whatever, the first half of that, you just pay nothing but interest. You haven't paid any single dime
On the
towards
principal.
the on the principal.
How
So
much was the principal?
six grand. So I looked at it and I said, "Did you guys realize this, and this, and that?" And it was like after they showed me, it's like, "Hey, take a look at this." And it was like, I was like, "Nah, dude, these people are robbing you blind." It's like, "What? How long have you paid?" Well, I already paid $3,000 on interest because you haven't paid dime towards the interest. I was like, "Okay, what you need to do is you need to call. You need to figure out,
You need to
what the
refinance your
payout.
mouth.
No, you need to figure out what the payment is, or what's the payout. To figure that out, it's like, okay, yeah, I owe this much. I was like, you need to just pay it cash, dude. You're losing so much up the you're losing up so much money. Just pay it, get it over with. That's what they did. Paid it off, then got that bill out of the way. You just save yourself, some money there.
We
If
just
not,
we
you would
just
have
had this conversation with cars, remember, Alex?
yeah.
That's why when you go into dealerships, they'll say, "Well, where are you trying to be at on a monthly basis?" "Oh, I just want to be at $800 a month." "Oh, $800 a month." Okay.
Yeah.
Then they go back in, man. And I have heard people purchase vehicles with Alex. I ain't lying. I am not lying when I say this. 96 months. 96 months, bro. Let me say that again. 96 months, all for the sake of keeping that car payment at that $800 range. I mean, you might as well just buy a Bugatti. You might as well be rolling in a Rolls Royce, right? You're pulling 96 months at
Yeah, but then
$800.
they can't pay. But then you can't pay the maintenance.
No, of course not. Of course
Yeah.
not.
So, anyways, that was just a tip, man. Make sure you guys are looking at this, your
Ooh,
contracts,
man,
and
that's
making sure
tough
that
right there, man.
you're
Was
actually
it? Let me ask you something. Was it gold?
no, it's not gold.
Was it amalgam?
No, it was actually like an actual real medical thing. So it's something that had to get done. It wasn't for
Oh, it was
vanity's
going to
sake.
affect their heart. It was going to affect their heart because that's mouth disease goes to the heart. You know that, right?
No, Well, yeah, I think that I've heard some or read about that before,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
no,
yeah.
it was just some
I used to do
something that they
billing
needed.
for a dental agency when I was younger, much younger, way
Well,
younger.
Carlos, let's talk about our last subject, which is the MLB.
The
Yeah,
MLB. Listen, guys, this is the last subject we're going to talk about today because this is, and listen, Alex,
in a
I'm not
sneaky
going to,
one.
yeah, well, listen, I'm not gonna get political. uh our goal is to try to avoid politics because we have seen what politics does to our listeners, what it does to our show, and we try not to get political because we understand that that's not something fun. So today I'm just going to tell you what's going on, okay? And everyone might know this because this is a little old, right? Major League Baseball pulled the All-Star game from Atlanta, right? So the Atlanta pulled the All-Star game, right? And MLB did it, supported it because of the voting rights that took place in Georgia recently, right?
Hmm.
The voter suppression thing that we've got going on right now in Atlanta is a mess. In the state of Georgia, I mean, it's just, it's bad, right? I get it. But I'm not getting I'm not bringing politics into this. This is not political. What I am bringing to the, I guess you would say, to the table, Alex, is what capitalism is doing, right? This is called woke capitalism. Okay. Woke
Hmm.
capitalism to me and to the rest of the world is equating to, let me make, and I'm going to try to put this in the best way possible. Woke capitalism is that if you're a company and you say, oh, you know what? Let's, for example, we make toothpaste. I'll give you this example. I'll go a little deeper, right? A little more tangible. Let's just say I own a company that makes toothpaste. I'm not Procter Gamble. My toothpaste just says toothpaste, right? Let's for
Hmm.
teeth, right? For teeth. That'll be the name of the company, right? So for teeth says,
Deeper.
for teeth says,
Go ahead. Oh,
Los
sorry.
dientes at the Dollar Tree. Listen,
Oh, yeah.
so I will have this. And what I am saying as a company is, hey, let's go ahead and jump on to the Black Lives Matter. Let's put BLM on all our
Four teeth.
toothpaste, right? For teeth, right? Let's put BLM on there. That way, everyone sees that we're all about this movement and they'll buy our toothpaste. Do you see the manipulation? Now,
Hmm.
listen, some companies are doing it because they truly believe in it. And I'm not questioning what you guys are doing. I'm not questioning that whatsoever. But there is a thing that's going around that's called woke capitalism, right? That, the woke movement is saying, hey, we know what really happens. We know what's really going on. We know who really is controlling these decisions, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. No, no, no. I'm talking about woke capitalism, that people, that companies, that leadership within those companies, those people are making decisions, right? And siding with a specific side for the sake of generating additional sales, right?
Yeah.
They jump on a movement, they jump on a cause, not because they believe in it,
Even
but they
because of
believe it's going to
monetary
increase the
value.
bottom dollar, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Bottom line, if we do this, guys, we stand a chance of increasing our revenue for the next 6 months by 20%. What? Let's do it.
Yeah.
Well, capitalism says, wait a minute, I know why you're doing this and you're manipulating it, and it's not cool. It's not okay.
Yeah, it's like they're punishing the whole state based on the decisions of, what the mayor decides to do, and all these businesses that were looking forward. Like, if you check this out, I think like the previous in 2000 it was the yeah. So in 2000 it generated, based on the local economy, $49 million in Atlanta in 2000. Obviously, with the All-Star game in 2019, it was projected that it brought 65 million to Cleveland. So
Right.
these businesses around, just because of the car rentals and everything else like that, they were expecting this big money making opportunity, and it just got yanked from
Economic
them just
development,
because.
for sure.
And then, the mayor just basically told, today the Major League Baseball caved for to fear. political opportunism and liberal lies. And he's not backing up. We're not going to be caving to fear. This is a knee jerk reaction, blah, 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 cancel culture, woke politic activist. And he goes on to say all these kind of things. I mean, I think it's hard to say, what really goes behind closed doors and the discussions, because obviously there's were many discussions between teams, but they took a strong stance on it.
They did. They took a strong stand. But here's the thing. I hope, I hope, and I'm being honest, man. I'm being incredibly honest. I hope these companies that are jumping on these movements for the sake of these movements, I hope it's real, right? I hope it's real. I hope you're really making that decision because, for the MLB to do this, what happened to the NFL when they didn't support Kaepernick,
Hmm.
right? Right. So, I go back to, and I'm trying not to get involved into the politics, but it's impossible not to when you're talking about woke capitalism, right? That capitalism says, what can we do to side with the woke culture, jump on board and generate additional revenue and increase our bottom line, right? It is important, guys. It is incredibly important that you really take a step back and analyze, right, the history of a company, what the company stands for, what they have done. And if this is something new, I'm sorry, man. I feel like you gotta really start really taking a whiff to say, is this real or is this not real? Right?
Yeah. Yeah, you got to be more alert, Carlos. And I want to touch really quick. I know that that was our last subject,
Yeah,
but
man.
I want to talk about Conor McGregor had his fight over the weekend, and he's been
Chump.
talking. Yeah, he talked a lot of trash, and obviously that's what we all love him for
I'm
for
just
talking
kidding.
his trash. But he ended up breaking his ankle, and it was a clean cut. Obviously, he was worried about the stoppage and make sure it was like a technical, medical, whatever, not a TKO or whatever they call it.
Right,
Um,
right.
but what I want to talk to you about, one, is he washed up, or he just needs to, he's taking too many years, or too much gaps in between where all these guys are adding more to their belts and they're ready to fight at a given point, and he needs to go back under, like, fighting the lower tier guys and get back up to before you can challenge the top tier guys. And another thing is, the guy that we expect a little bit more as a champ, and then him saying, it's like, one thing is your opponent and then another thing is disrespecting his family. Do we expect, as a culture, to, hey dude, you're taking a little bit too over the board, or is that what we expect from our bad guy? Because he went on Twitter, just for the record, and he said, you need people like me, obviously stating Scarface, the movie, where it's like, you need people like me to
Too
do,
many
to
people
point
like
your,
me.
yeah, to point your finger and say that's the bad guy, right? um
Right, right,
do
right,
we need that,
right.
or is he a little bit overboard? I want to just get your opinion on it.
I think he's got. I listen. That number one, that's a very narcissistic mindset, right? It's a very narcissistic. It's very wow. You really do see yourself as a person who is needed in this world, right? Or in your line of work. Listen, all I'm gonna
I think
say
he was
is,
referencing to people saying is like, oh, you should have done that. That's taking it too far. You're too disrespectful. You need to have a little bit more class. And he's like, I don't. You need people like me. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
to be the bad guy,
Look, man, I hate to say this, Alex, because I feel like I'm copping out on the answer, but it's entertainment, bro.
right? I
It's
mean,
entertainment. It's entertainment, right? It's Jake Paul wanting to fight Mayweather, right? It's Austin McBroom wanting to fight whatever that kid's name is, right? It's all
yeah.
entertainment for the sake of cash. Why do you think Conor McGregor called that fight? He called it. He said it himself. Call the fight, right? Call the fight. It's because of an accident or whatever he say. What
No, no, no. It's
doctor? What
because
did he say?
it,
Medical
medical
something, right?
stoppage. Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
medical
medical stop,
stoppage. It's
right?
because he didn't, because he didn't want it to look in his record,
He didn't want it
as
to look
a
bad on him,
TKO. Yeah.
of course,
So
because the
so
entertainment, right? The
it
entertaining
doesn't look
piece
as bad.
just went south, right? It just went
Well,
south,
it's
guys.
It's because he said he's gonna be leaving on leave the stadium on a stretcher, this, and that, and the one who ended up leaving on the stretcher was him. So obviously, there's a lot of like, you put your foot where your mouth is. Look where you're at now. So the other guy,
It's
to me
great.
was very classy. He was like, this, and now he's
It
taking too far,
happens. It's okay.
whatever. So I don't know, but it's I like Connor. I like what he brings to the sport. I know that maybe it's not classy, and look, these some of these guys are not role models, and you shouldn't look up to them. There's other role models out there that do a way better job.
Right, right,
Like,
right.
so. Anyways, Carlos, I just wanted to touch on that. I didn't want to skip over it. And go ahead and give us the quote of the day to wrap it up.
Yeah, listen, I think I say this just about every other week, man, but I don't, some of the quotes that I find to drop us off or to finish us off, man, are pretty interesting from the people that it comes with. Today comes from Dolly Parton.
Dolly Parton.
Dolly Parton. You know who that is, right, Alex?
Yeah, I have no idea.
That's that lady. Google her. Listen, Google her, and then you'll be like, "Oh, I think I know who this lady is." Dolly Parton says, "The way I see it," which is sounds like her, right? The way I see it, if you want the rainbow, you got to put up with the rain. I'll say it again, and remove Dolly from this, right? This
Oh,
is,
yeah.
you know who it is
She's
now,
worth
right?
$600 million. It's crazy.
Oh yeah, she's been around. She's been
Yeah,
around for sure.
businesswoman, Tennessee, country
Oh,
singer,
absolutely.
songwriter, producer, actress. Go ahead.
She's like the Elvis of country music.
Yeah,
If I
19.
can
She was
say
born
it that way.
1946. Anyways, keep
Yeah,
going.
man.
Sorry.
Look at you,
Inspiration.
just breaking
Go.
down that bio. Inspiration, go. The way I see it, she says, if you want the rainbow, you got to put up with the rain. My name's Carl.
This is Alex. Thanks for tuning in. Peace.
Later. The first one, you want
Hey,
to do the first one, right?
wouldn't
The
it
collective?
wouldn't it be better if you just stopped the recording and started over? Or no?
No, because it's gonna download. Here, let's do this.
Okay,
Let's do
first.
this. Let's do this, meaning we're starting over. That way, when you're zipping through, you're like, oh yeah, yeah, the time he was flashing his hand. All right, here we
Okay,
go.
pues.
In three, in
Hold on,
three,
pues.
two,
Espérate, hold
one.
on. I gotta come
La
down my face.
madre.
Es que tengo
You
the
know what we're
grin. It's
talking
like
about?
I had the grin like this. Okay, hold on.
Are you serious now?
Five,
Why
four, three,
so
two, one.
serious?